Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about level caps. And this is a question from my industry buddy Matt Pritchard. And he basically wanted me to talk about level caps versus having infinite advancement in an RPG. Now, if you've played any of my games, you'll know that I always seem to go level cap. And mainly it's because I've always pushed as one of the design pillars, even if it isn't expressly stated in some of my games, that I want the player to have a lot of opportunity to have replayability in my game, to make new characters and experience new content and do different things, basically play differently and see how that works out. The problem I've always had with infinite advancement is you will eventually get all your skills to max. You'll get all the perks that are in the game. You'll see all the content. Or I suppose I should caveat that you're going to see most content. If there was, say, dumb dialogue and your character didn't start with a low int and dumb dialogue wasn't triggered by having negative status effects on your int, then you're not going to see that dialogue. Also, a lot of my RPGs have decision based content. Like you may decide to join one faction and not another. So even though you can do content in both of those factions, eventually you have to pick one, and then you're not going to see the later game content of the other factions. You may also choose to play in a certain way that causes some content to unlock and other content to be locked. So, yes, I agree that infinite advancement doesn't necessarily mean you will see all the content, but sometimes I think it means that you see more content that I expected you to see on one playthrough. The other issue I've always had with infinite advancement is I like when you play just the regular person, especially when the story supports that by like, oh, you just happen to pull the short straw, so you're leaving the vault. Or, Phineas was in a rush and he just pressed the button and grabbed one of the cryo sleeping units at random. I like that you're, a regular person who's thrust into this story, and I think that the system mechanics, and I've said this a lot, mechanics should support story, should support that. When you have infinite level caps, at some point in the game, you become like a walking god, and you're just mowing things down, wrecking stuff that should be giving you some kind of challenge. And I do like going back and being able to wreck stuff that you've encountered. But like I like the fact that in Fallout 1, Deathclaws were always scary. You could be in power armor and have a minigun. You're still going to pause when you see a Deathclaw walk on the screen. If you see multiple Deathclaws walk on the screen, you're going to do more than pause. You're probably going to run away. But I like that. I like that the world remains scary in places and challenging, or whatever adjective you want to use. Now, because I always like to talk about pros and cons, I scratched my head for a long time thinking of the downside of level caps, which is basically the overreaching downside is it stops your advancement, which is antithetical to a lot of my statements of let's play how you want. So probably the thing people complain about the most about level caps is they hit it before they hit the end of the game. So then they feel like, well, I'm playing, but I'm not getting XP anymore, or if I do get XP, it doesn't matter. And there's still more of the game to experience, but some of the reward has gone out of it. The reward loop has been cut to basically finding good items and finding crafting ingredients and things like that. But also, if you hit your level cap before you made the character, you may have a concept of a character, and you started playing the game without realizing that because of the level cap, you're never going to get that many points in those skills and those perks that you'll need to support your character conception. And I get that. And that is a big downside of a level cap. The other complaint I've heard, and I agree with this one too, is people often complain that by the time they get a new perk or they've maxed out a skill and they want to run around and see how that is like, they're at the end of the game. Fallout 1 suffered a great deal in that there were several perks that literally had a level requirement of 18. And since the level cap was 20, it pretty much said if you're going to play, like one of them was the Slayer, the unarmed attack perk that lets you just sometimes hit someone and kill them. That was level 18. You got at most 2 levels of play out of that, and then you were level capped. So I get that. And I agree that those are some pretty significant restrictions, and they fly in the face of some of my well-used design pillars of play how you want, make the character you want. Also, unlimited advancement has some pros. I will admit that when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, there are some things here that I agree with. The biggest one is if you have a game with procedural generation and level scaling, it's fun to have unlimited advancement because you can see just how crazy some of those encounters get. I mean, it's really fun to go into a new place that's generated and populated with monsters, and you see what happens when their level goes up. You start to see monsters with new names or subtitles. You start to see new abilities you didn't see earlier in the game. Items start to drop. If you're playing a game that goes, rare, epic, legendary, whatever. I hate the ones that are all color based, and people go like, oh, did you get that purple drop? I'm like, I have no idea. But I get the excitement of going up to a really high level just to see how the game reacts to that. I mean, and that fits right into my reactivity pillar. Interestingly, though, from the same camp of people who hate level caps and really want unlimited advancement, those are often the first people who complain about level scaling, which, if you don't have that, you go back to my big complaint that unlimited advancement means you're a walking god with nothing to challenge you. And I've said elsewhere, I kind of like level scaling if it's constrained in a certain way, and the constraint is once I encounter something, I don't expect it to level scale when I encounter it again. So if I go and I see a boss and I run away, I expect him to be the same level when I come back. Also, there are some random encounters that I expect to have a level cap. When you start running into bandits that are like, I'm going to steal your pouch of 100 gold, and they're wearing armor that's worth 10,000 gold. I'm like, why aren't you retiring? Why aren't you buying a house in the south of this country and just retiring? You're a very wealthy bandit. So infinite levels have that downside of turning your game into the kind of game that you didn't anticipate when you envisioned the setting and the story. Because now you have some just uber powerful things running around to be able to challenge your uber powerful player characters, but you didn't plan on having a game where godlike creatures roam the earth just so that when the player encounters them, they're not killed in one shot. So yeah, I see that a lot. So I guess the to wind this up, I've given a lot of pros and cons of both level caps and unlimited level scaling. I even can say that I see the appeal of people who want unlimited leveling. I get it. But as I'm frequently asked, hey, if you were given a new project and a big bag of money and you can do whatever you want, what would you pick? And I'll answer that the way I've answered that a lot before. I've had that opportunity frequently, and every single time I picked level cap. I have level caps in Fallout. I had level caps. I'm pretty sure I had a level cap in Arcanum. I know I had a level cap in Temple. And we had a level cap in Outer Worlds. I just think that the pros of level cap outweigh the pros of unlimited leveling, even though unlimited leveling does support some of my pillars, I think level caps support more of them. So, given a choice, you're going to see level caps in my game. But I get those of you who want unlimited leveling. And that's the best answer I think I can make for this question. Good question, though.